Canadian Alex Stita making history in the yellow jersey. Hours later, pain and defeat at the hands of the Tour de France. The single-minded ambition of American Greg LeMond. The fury of the same man, picked to win a race that has begun to elude him. The Tour de France bike race is leaving its mark under the sunny skies of France. Five-time Tour de France winner Bernard Hinault, whose over-the-shoulder glance only reminds him that he will always be a marked man. This athlete they call the Badger has put together one of the most talented teams in history. And riding with him is a teammate who this year may not be his willing ally. Greg LeMond has his best chance ever to win the Tour. And here in France, their battle with a race and with each other will be waged over this most alluring and challenging countryside. It began with 210 of the world's elites, including another Frenchman, Laurent Fignon. He has beaten both LeMond and Hinault, has returned from an injury, and fashioned his own dream team to help him take his third win. Cycling's larger-than-life superhero has made his presence felt everywhere. They are all three, each of them being tracked down by ambitious men riding bicycles. Two Frenchmen and one American, caught up in the dreams of winning the Tour de France. When it's all over, only one man can leave his mark under the sunny skies of France. It's the people who line the course of the Tour de France in small towns like this one that give the race its character and its soul. Hello again, everyone. I'm John Tesh reporting. On July 27th, the Tour de France bicycle race will make its finish along the Champs-Élysées in Paris, France. Before then, an estimated 20 million or more people will see the race personally along the route. Who wins it? Well, he is the man who covers the entire 2,525 miles in 24 days in the best overall elapsed time. He is the man in the pack who wears the yellow jersey. Day one of this year's tour, Bernard Hinault wearing the yellow jersey as the defending champion. At day's end, the jersey would go to the fastest in the race against the clock, and this was Hinault's specialty. The prologue time trial, and for Hinault and riders like Olympic speed skating champion Eric Heiden in his first Tour de France, the 3-mile race against the clock was the first opportunity to make a personal statement. Heiden, competing on America's first full team in the Tour de France, and the speed skater turned cyclist, who will soon enter med school, was on his way to turn in an excellent time. Greg LeMond. In last year's prologue, Hinault's time was 20 seconds faster than Greg's, and it was important for Greg to establish himself here on day one in this year's prologue as the team leader. Laurent Fignon, his first moments in the starting house since he won the Tour in '84 and then had to sit out last year with an injury. Although the three favorites, LeMond, Hinault, and Fignon, were denied the yellow jersey on day one, it was Fignon's teammate, Thierry Marie, who had the best time and the jersey. 5 times before, Hinault had won the time trial, but not today. Was this a bad omen? And as the reporters closed in, perhaps the question in Greg LeMond's mind, with only 2 seconds separating he and teammate Hinault, which one would the 10-man La Vie Claire team work for? Thierry Marie and his yellow jersey, Fignon's first lieutenant, had done well. Day 2 started with a bang as pre-race festivities got into full swing. It's just not easy working out the bugs right away. It also wasn't a simple task getting Day 2's 55-mile road race up to speed, as communist workers took the opportunity of worldwide press coverage to protest the closing of an automobile plant. No one was hurt, and things returned to normal pretty quickly. But not before yellow jersey Thierry Marie showed he had donned the appropriate color for the day's early excitement. When the racing began in earnest, it was Canadian Alex Steeda riding on the American team who decided the shortest road race in the Tour de France was a chance to become the opportunist. Steeda launched himself out on a solo breakaway. The rest of the riders failed to take him seriously. They let him go, and Steeda began a journey into the record books. He became the first North American cyclist to win the Golden Fleece. Later that day, the team time trial. 21 10-man teams riding together for 34 miles. Yellow jersey Alex Steeda and his American 711 team knew that using proper orchestration would be essential. It was in the team time trial when Laurent Fignon showed off his hot new system. Sponsored by the French Systeme U supermarkets, Fignon's army of techno speed demons were on their way to obliterating their competition. Meanwhile, 711 was having its problems. With each team's time being added to every individual, 711 America was trying to protect their yellow jersey and failing. Fignon's band of U-men would go on to generate a win for the system, while La Viclaire's dismal rhythm left them 2 minutes behind Systeme U. There was heartache for Greg LeMond, and also for 711 Steeda, who lost his yellow jersey and was almost dropped from the Tour for falling so far behind his team. Then last Sunday, Boulder, Colorado native Davis Finney added more history to the Tour, becoming the first American to win a Tour road race. 134 miles long, and it was Finney on your right at the line.
I'm just in shock. I'm utterly amazed. I can't believe it.
The overall standings after 3 days of 24 look like this, and you can see the importance of having a good team. Systeme U's Marie back in the yellow jersey, Fignon right up there. LeMond and Bernard Hinault nearly 2 minutes behind. At this point, it was crystal clear that Laurent Fignon was back and as powerful as ever. Fignon, with his system, was burning up the Tour de France.
That's exactly what we want them to do. We want them to work. I mean, it's 3 weeks long. It's going to be impossible for them to keep their yellow jerseys that long.
The system, it would seem, is everywhere.
You know, every day in the Tour de France is another long day. Everybody gets up early. There's 23 days. There's 23 different hotels. It's the most transient sporting spectacular in the world. But there's no routine day. As the riders race along in that big pack, there's always something going on. It's certainly never boring.
It's the same in any job, and for the professional cyclist, a cup of coffee and a pleasant chat starts the day nicely. After a drink, well-trained hands remind the rider that this is no ordinary working day, but one that requires special attention. No time to read the mail either. This is an outline of the route ahead, and to those riders who don't know the way, now's the time to learn. Early stars have the chance to sign autographs and enjoy a slice of glory. And there's even time to read about what people think of you. Laurent Fignon grabs a last-minute snack on his way to the start line. It's a long day. And just like in a factory, when the whistle blows, it's time to go to work. But not everybody's so keen. With up to 7 hours pedaling ahead, there's no hurry. The day is young and the road is long. Even Felix Leviton, the organizer, is full of pleasantries for the workers. And for the moment, the leader's dormant and the badger rests among friends. A chance for Haydn to check his wounds of days gone by. Check your brakes, sir. No need to stop for this one. A problem with the cleats on your shoes? Nothing a screwdriver won't fix. Ah, here's a rider with a knee problem. It's not the only problem he's got. You know, these long flat stages can become tedious, and there's no better way than to tune into a little music, join the Navy, or just listen in stereo. And then, if you're lucky along the route, you might just spot Papa and Mama. Marc Gomez, the ex-champion of France, has even had permission from the pack to go ahead and greet his family. What a friendly lot the riders can be at times, even though they don't stop to say hi. One basic rule in the Tour de France is that you must pedal all the way. No one says you have to stay on the road. But never underestimate the dangers of riding in a pack of over 200 riders. Elimination is just an elbow away. The miles tick by, and as the race this day approaches half distance, then lunch is taken. Riders snatch the sacks of food and then, like squirrels, store it for the remaining miles ahead. Bernard Hinault packs the food in his mouth rather than in his pockets. He's making ready with the rest for the metamorphosis that is about to take place. With lunch break over, Laurent Fignon calls on manager Cyril Guimard. And Greg LeMond prepares for the real work, which will soon begin by putting on a hard hat. The open road ahead is now a challenging sight, and the race picks up a tempo that only the best will match. French rivals Fignon and Hinault in the sunglasses speak to each other, but neither will give anything away. If fate strikes now, a bicycle change is the only chance you'll have of getting back to the race, because the pleasantries of the morning are now a thing of the past. The Tour is now in open flight, and the huge crowds in the towns of France pack the streets to catch a glimpse of the peddlers of charm. Every day there are the adventurers like today's Johan van der Velde and Joel Pellier. They search for a stage win or even the yellow jersey. Sometimes the pack's interested, sometimes it's not. Van der Velde reads the route ahead, and the two leaders this day form a partnership from which both can profit. Behind one team, the Systeme U squad are left to work the hardest. After all, it's their man who has the yellow jersey. In front of a huge crowd, Van der Velde wins the stage, and another long day in the office will end, but there's plenty more to come. The field behind have been beaten this time, but with prizes for the first 80 to finish, there's plenty to race for, and the photograph will decide the winners. And what a day for Van der Velde. He gained enough time to take the lead for the first time in his life.
After the race, it's time to think about one thing: preparing for tomorrow's race. Every day, the team mechanics take each and every bike completely apart, clean them up, and then reassemble them once again. While the athletes sleep, these guys work well into the night. and are then up at dawn getting the gear race ready. Since there's a new finish line every day, someone's got to tear this stuff down and then put it back up again. 600 of these crowd control barriers have to be put away. The 500 members of the press have split town, so their area has to be dismantled. 350 of these volunteers, each of them, have the unenviable task of preparing the arenas for 24 days of the world's most grueling bike race. And they have to have it set up by 7 a.m. next day. By the way, the guy who runs the operation is a former colonel in the French Foreign Legion. The Tour de France, live in concert and always on the road. What's happened to the Badger, Bernard Hinault? Will he and Greg LeMond finally make a move against Laurent Fignon's system? The answer may come along the ocean that carried the allies of days gone by. Daybreak over the shoreline near Cherbourg, France. A crystal clear dawn presiding over peaceful sands. On the beach, a monument reflects the yellow rays of life, marking the site where brave GIs gave their lives to liberate Europe. It's peaceful here now, but 40 years of healing has not erased the memory of what happened in this place called Omaha Beach. Here along these beaches, an American landing point, were waged the bloodiest battles of the D-Day landings. Omaha Beach, which began as a code name, the Third Army swept down through Brittany and went on to liberate France and the rest of Western Europe. In Colville-sur-Mer, there stands an American cemetery, 9,385 marble crosses. Brave young men who fought for us, each and every one. (1986), day 6 in the Tour de France bike race. The talk today, why haven't Greg LeMond and Bernard Hinault used their skills to put a stop to the Systeme U team? Since the team time trial, Hinault and LeMond have been nearly 2 minutes behind in the overall standings. Behind Systeme U's leader, Laurent Fignon, who looked to have a pre-race blood pressure that was barely measurable. 125 miles ahead, and the riders pull out of a town that has never seen the Tour, the elegant seaside resort of Villers-sur-Mer. Right away, Bernard Hinault lets it be known that he's had enough passive jousting and generates a breakaway off the front of the pack. Like a magnet, he draws a small group of riders along with him. This now is the daring Breton whose take-charge style has won him 5 previous Tours de France. Back in the chase group, and LeMond too lifts his race tempo, and the entire pace of the race continues to build. No one can afford to let the likes of Hinault or LeMond get a leg up here on the roads of Normandy. Systeme U, and for once, Laurent Fignon's band of ultramen are not controlling the race, at least not yet. Greg LeMond remains behind with the system. If they make a move on Hinault, he'll go with them. The 11 escape artists have now opened a margin of 1:30, and through the 19th century towns, a Frenchman leads the attack. But his group is a talented one, and includes Ireland's Stephen Roche, who is dangerous enough to keep Hinault on his toes. The chasers, led by Le Mans and Systeme U, are now almost 1 minute 45 seconds behind the leaders, and the blistering pace has opened up the ranks, throwing the swiftest into a scramble in single file.
A check on the watch and the smile on the Breton faces tells the story. The first serious attack in the Tour de France is in progress. And on a day when no one expected more than a routine ride through Normandy, it's the Badger who's come out of his set in fighting mood. There's no finer time to attack than when your enemies don't expect it. And this group of 12 men push the pace up to 35 miles an hour as they speed towards Cherbourg. Greg LeMond follows the moves behind. Why should he chase a teammate? Hinault must be surprised by the way he's gathering time, but tours have been won by many errors. This is one gift he must accept. He's joined by Stephen Roach, third last year, another favourite who has fled the pack. Free as birds, everyone will help now. Unbelievably, the vigilant Systeme U team have allowed the unthinkable to happen, and now they must group together and try and correct their biggest mistake. Laurent Fignon, expecting a quiet day in the sunshine, is forced into action with his whole team, knowing that if the group ahead stays clear, his hopes of winning the Tour may be gone forever. The Systeme U team chase with no help from the rest because they know that Fignon must chase, using energy that later might cost him the race. Bernard Hinault, the winner of 5 Tours, knows only too well the damage he's causing behind. The wily Breton has come out of his corner at last to show the world that at 31 he can still win the race for a record 6 times. Of all the tactics the riders might have expected, this is one they would never have thought of, because Hinault's record shows he never attacks on the flat. Exasperated, embarrassed, Fignon counters hard. He takes with him a small group, and guess who's sat in at the back? Greg LeMond, wearing number 7 and enjoying a free ride on Fignon's account. The Frenchman, it seems, is in a La Vie Claire sandwich. After an hour of freedom, the leaders begin to sense failure, and behind the relentless formation of the Systeme U team, succeed in ending one of the most epic pursuits across Normandy of a type rarely seen in the Tour. There is still no obvious candidate for Paris. But wait. In a classic tactic, Greg LeMond, Bernard Hinault's teammate, attacks. Has he caught the field off guard? But no, because Yvon Madio, the French champion and teammate of Laurent Fignon, is ready this time. And LeMond knows now that the shocks for this day at least are over. And peace will return to the pack, who will not forget the day the Badger came out to play. And in the end, Johan van der Velde kept the leader's yellow jersey.
The standings following 6 days look a lot like they did before today's race. The difference is now there's more tension than ever before, and at least one rider is talking about it all.
It's been really aggressive the last couple of days. Everybody's nervous for the time trial in the mountains. I think everybody's waiting for something to happen, waiting for it to explode.
Cyril Guimard is France's most successful team manager. He's shaped the lives of many of the top riders, and he's chosen his riders from a young age and moulded them into champions. Right now, he's in charge of the Systeme U team. And amongst the riders, there are some old faces, like Laurent Fignon, distinctive in his rimless glasses. He can remember the days of 1984 when he won the Tour de France for himself and for Guimard. Greg LeMond's world title and subsequent rise to fame was under the guidance of the man who is now from Systeme U. Guimard also coached Bernard Hinault to 4 victories in the Tour de France. They parted when Fignon came along. 2 chiefs is one too many. Now Guimard and Fignon have developed a system of their own, using a chain of supermarkets for a supermarketeer.
The magic men of Team Systeme U. Who are they? Why are they so good? There are a lot of questions here, and frankly, this year's tour appears to be in the throes of... It was the team time trial when we all began noticing something a bit odd about this team. They all use those special black moon wheels, each rider wearing a yellow pointy plastic helmet, except for their leader, Fignon. Already, they had put 7 of their riders in the top 10 standings in the Tour de France bicycle race. And how do you explain a team leader named Cyril, who's already toasting with champagne? Toasting. But does he ever take a sip? Where did they come from? Why are they always riding at the front of the pack? Is this a question that will ever be answered? Who knows the answer?
It seems like they're from another galaxy. They're at the front all the time, protecting their jersey, and they're just superhuman beings.
Why are they so quick to accept free laser muscle treatments at the end of each race? And what of their leader, Fignon? Why is he always running from something? Indeed, they don't even speak our language.
Je pense que pour l'instant on est bien placé, on a très bien travaillé, on a très bien joué pour le classement général, et je crois que Laurent est idéalement placé et je crois qu'il va remporter son 3e tour.
Okay, thank you, merci. Is this a normal team vehicle?
Well, you know, we're supposed to be staying in the same hotel as those guys, but I never see them. And I don't know. You see lights and things going on late at night. And Fignon, I mean, he's there at dinner, boom, he's gone. I don't know where the guy comes from or where he goes, but he definitely doesn't sleep in a bed.
All over France, they're putting up thousands of these. Young French children are even beginning to look like Fignon. The system and its U-shaped symbol, it's everywhere. Can anyone escape? Systeme U. For the next 2 weeks, take care. Watch the podium. Watch the Tour de France. Watch the skies for...
But back in the real world of the Tour de France, Systeme U carry on defending for Laurent Fignon. To come, though, there's a time trial. Will the system break down? This has always been the race about time. Over a span of many years, it's always been a race against the clock. So let's turn the clock back and take a look at history. For 83 years, many things have remained unchanged. The backdrop of the beautiful French countryside, for example, the struggle of racing each day and every day, and the glory of the victory. À bicyclette, quand on approche For 83 years, too, men have raced bicycles around the entire French countryside. They may have slowed down occasionally for a passing train, and even done a little bit of walking. But only one thing has cancelled the Tour. 2 world wars on French soil also had the Tour as a casualty, but racing began again as soon as the fighting was over. Today, the Arc de Triomphe signals the end of the race around France, where the final yellow jersey is awarded. Yellow? Because that used to be the colour of the sponsoring newspaper. With heavy bicycles, no multiple gears, and with spare tyres tied about their shoulders, the Tour de France began to build its legends. No helpers were allowed in the early years, and to start next day you had to finish with your bicycle, even if broken. No one has ever said the Tour de France is easy, but to be successful, adversity must be faced with courage of the type that's endemic in this race. Danger is something a rider lives with every few minutes of the day. And the pileups are certain to happen. Everyone just hopes it doesn't happen to them. One tragedy above all has scarred the Tour de France, and British cyclist Tom Simpson died on the climb of Mont Ventoux, a barren, burning mountain slope in the Massif Central region. It was in 1967, on July the 13th, on stage 13, exactly 19 years ago today. Happily, most people remember the Tour by its greatest riders. Lewis and Bobet, 30 years ago, the last Breton before Hinault. Jacques Anquetil, 5 times a winner from Normandy, and now a television commentator. And the greatest rider of all time, Eddy Merckx from Belgium. Today's heroes like Bernard Hinault, this year aiming for his 6th win, have been developed because of legendary figures such as these, who have, by their very courage, shaped the Tour de France into the most grueling race on earth. This year, will there be a place in history for Hinault and a 6th win, or Greg LeMond, who could be the first American winner?
The American invasion of the Tour de France came in 1981, when a young cyclist named Jonathan Boyer was the first to ride it. Boyer moved to France in 1974. He took a 6-week crash course in French and was hired as a rider by a French team. Boyer has since retired from the Tour de France after a personal best 12th place finish. Next came Greg LeMond, who embraced the Tour in '84 and finished 3rd. The 3rd American, Doug Shapiro, was hired by a Dutch team, and he finished 74th last year. Now comes the first American-based team. Out of the Wild West, they hail as a group of eager young trailblazers. The team is sponsored by a chain of American convenience stores and an Italian industrial dishwasher company. Here in this year's Tour de France, they've already been making headlines. Alex Stida won the yellow leader's jersey on day 2, and although he lost it the same day, he was the first North American to wear that jersey. And then last Sunday, Davis Finney from Boulder, Colorado, became the first American to win a Tour de France road race. And then there's Eric Heiden, who would like to add a successful finish to his 5 Olympic gold speed skating medals. But their tour hasn't been easy.
It's unbelievable how hard these races are. You know, there's all these guys that are going for it, and when they get out there, they work really hard.
It's about 50% faster, 200% longer, and 100% harder. So, there's nothing like it. It's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable.
We haven't got to the hard part yet.
Ouch. No other words to describe it.
After day 8, there was yet another yellow jersey. And Ron Kiefel with the best time on that brand new American team. LeMond and Hinault almost 3 minutes back with the most telling race of the Tour yet to come. We'll have more from France later today. Welcome. back to the Tour de France bicycle race. Up until now, there has been no clear showdown between the Tour's race favorites, but that could change today here in Nantes. It's an individual time trial, 38 miles alone against the watch. Here is an opportunity to jump ahead and take the yellow leader's jersey. Here also is a chance to fall miserably behind and lose the Tour de France.
And this is Greg LeMond's opportunity to take charge and muscle his way back to the top. At almost 3 minutes behind the overall leader, there is heavy work ahead for Greg. The view by the start and the Systeme and Laurent Fignon have been a maddening presence here. Like a ski racer now, LeMond balances in the start house and then 5 final ticks of the watch. There is no team for help or hindrance here. LeMond and the others will all be alone on the course. The 25-year-old from the States who moved his family to Belgium to train rides on the French team he feels gave him a raw deal last year when they asked him to help teammate Bernard Hinault win his 5th Tour. LeMond admits he made a mistake, and this year he says he will work for no one. Bernard Hinault, also close to 3 minutes out of the lead, has in his career always used the time trial to jump into the overall lead. Without the help of other teammates to take a turn at the lead and act as a windbreak, Greg LeMond and the others are armed and dressed like guided missiles, saving precious energy, valuable seconds. The final countdown has begun for Hinault. And for almost an hour and a half, it will be nothing but the race with the watch. Last year, it was Irishman Stephen Roche who gave both Hinault and LeMond trouble in the mountain stages, and his time trial today could set up the dynamics for next week's trip through the Pyrenees. Entering this race, his overall time in the Tour is 1 minute better than Hinault and LeMond. LeMond told us before this race, this would be the Tour's first real test of its riders, and it's obvious the American has adopted one singular pace, flat out. With 850 miles covered, but with the Pyrenees still ahead, the time trial remains the most crucial stage for those who want to stake a claim to final victory. Bernard Hinault has always been convincing in these races of truth, but age is no longer on his side, although the people here certainly are. LeMond is the new star, but it is here where he must prove he is ready to lead his La Vie Claire team. Behind them both, Laurent Fignon prepares for his moments of truth. A winner in both the tours he's ridden, a year out with injury leaves a question to be answered. Is he fit enough to come back? No moon wheels for him in this age of advancement, but still a strange-looking bicycle. At the finish, LeMond clocks the best time so far, despite a bike change after a puncture. Dublin Stephen Roche averaging 31 miles an hour, an incredible speed. He is a man who could win the whole thing. And still chasing everyone, Laurent Fignon seems to be having trouble finding his rhythm. At the halfway point, he's lost 2 minutes to Hinault and slightly less to Greg LeMond. And at the finish, Bernard Hinault gives his answer, with a ride that will send chills through his rivals. Last year's winner, who openly said that this year he would ride for Greg LeMond, hits the American with a body blow and sets the best time of the day. What price now for an American winner? Still to finish, the yellow jersey of Jürgen Pedersen. He will be 6th and keep his lead for a while longer. Roche, 3rd last year, is back in the fight again, with 3rd this time on the day. Now the Tour's declared its true challengers. Even while Roche was finishing, the confident Bernard Hinault took time out for a shave before he met the press. Hinault knew that his main rival this day, Laurent Fignon, had experienced the blackest moment of his Tour career.
The time trial, once his strongest event, had revealed his weaknesses after a year away from the sport. Fignon wanted right now to be alone. 2 minutes ahead of Hinault this morning, 2 minutes behind now. Even for Fignon, that was just too much.
The time trial standings, and oddly enough, the first 3 are a duplicate of last year's final standings, when Hinault won it all. The overall picture, Hinault and Le Mans back in the hunt for the leader's jersey, with Fignon in a bit of trouble. It's 8 o'clock this Sunday evening in France, and the riders have now retired for the evening after their 114-mile road race, which did not appreciably change the standings that we just showed you. What's important to remember here, though, is that now the cyclists will enter the Pyrenees Mountains. And it was in the Pyrenees last year where that great drama unfolded involving Greg LeMond, the American, the Frenchman Bernard Hinault, and the Irishman Stephen Roche, with Hinault ultimately going on to win the Tour de France. And we'll bring you those exciting Pyrenean races next Sunday on CBS Sports Sunday. The next week, it's the Alpine stages. The most exciting racing of the Tour de France is yet to come. For now, I'm John Tesh reporting from France.